So tell me about growing up in Liverpool and how you became. Oh, come on, Liverpool's suffused with musical inspiration. I know it is, and I'm with you. Stop hammering on about the fucking Beatles. But, it is a major part of the DNA of the town, isn't it, really? So tell us about how it all started for you.
It was just like a couple of lads that lived over the road called the Mazenkos. And their dad was like a refugee in the war, or ended up over here anyway. And he was in some camp that was at the top of our road. And he got to meet this farmer's daughter and stayed, got married and stayed. And I was just mates with them, and never thought anything of the fact that they were like from a refugee situation or anything like that. Like, I don't even know whether it was. I don't really know the full backstory to it. I know they got their grandma out of Soviet Union in the 70s, I think it was. And it took a lot of negotiating, but she was getting on everything. And they managed to let her come out and come over to the West, She never spoke English. I could never be sure whether they were from the Ukraine or Poland, I'm not sure. But they were into music before me. They were a bit old, so they liked all Led Zeppelin, Family, Taste, Jethro Tull, Free, even Deep Purple.
That was my first album, was Deep Purple in rock.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah, it is.
So I was kind of influenced by them, and I'd go over to their house, and they'd have a Grundig tape recorder. And they'd stick the mic in front of the telly and record Top of the Pops, or the radio, when it was like the countdown, or, any programs with any music on, they'd be recording them, and we'd listen to these tapes endlessly, and then rub them off the next week because they didn't have loads of tapes, And so that was kind of an influence, and the other thing we used to do is we used to swap records all the time. So when I started like a paper round, like I was buying records, that's what I was spending the money on. And we'd swap records. So you sort of expanded your library of music. You could always borrow a record off your mates, around the village that were into music. And we weren't into like pop music as such, we were into more kind of
prog rock?
Yeah, prog rock and like heavy rock,
Yeah.
Or prog rock, like the likes of Taste and the Groundhogs, people like that.
Our Demons Out.
Oh, yeah, Edgar Broughton Band, yeah.
Yeah, and all that shit. I saw them at City Hall. That was great, man. Anyway, now, how old are you?
63.
Now, I'm 65, so we're kind of similar, aren't we, in that respect? Yeah, because I grew up with prog rock in
I've got no shame in saying I love prog rock, and I still love it now. It's like, what's your problem? That was like the underground music at the time.
It was.
Virgin Records was a cult label. It wasn't like this big conglomerate it is now. Yeah, it was a load of hippies in London starting,
right.
So it was cool, and the shops were great. So you could.
I've become fascinated. I've done loads of these podcasts, and I've become fascinated with the bands and the artists that crossed over, that started a bit earlier than punk, who kind of managed to scrape into the punk movement and become like involved with it. So people like Ultravox and Devo, and they were and Dogs of Madness actually, who I was a big fan of. I'm just fascinated with that period because I suppose we'd call it proto-punk, wouldn't we? That's something like that.
I don't know what it was. There was like definitely a link between the old world and things which I think just people growing up and changing, so it was like the old world was based in blues, and then there was like this new world, and you got like the likes of, well, I suppose Dr. Feelgood are very blues, but I don't know, like you said, Doctors of Madness, Bebop Deluxe.
Yes.
It sort of was changing, Roxy music.
And even the Alex Harvey band and stuff like that. Oh, Faith Healer, what a track.
Yeah.
One of my favourites. So, I've been doing quite a lot of reading about you. Very kindly, our mutual publishers gave me your book, which I've not had a chance to read yet.
Right.
Yeah, it's getting rave reviews, isn't it? So I've got something. In fact, he said to me, he gave me the book and said, essentially, he said, make it more like this. Because I've written mine, and we're now in the kind of nitty-gritty phase of it.
I didn't do it. Like, when I was writing the book, I purposely never read anything, because I think you don't want to be coloured by it. So maybe do yours first, then read it.
No, I have done, and they don't like it as much as yours.
Oh, right. Well,
no, I'm being a bit unfair. No,
there's a lot of humour in it, and it's kind of like a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff, and kind of, I don't take it too serious, Yeah. No, I think you start getting too po-faced about it all. And like, I listened to your podcast with Richard Hawley. I thought it was brilliant, by the way. I love Richard. He's great.
That's the very first one I did, and that was the funniest, possibly.
Yeah, he's a genius. And
yes.
He was saying that you don't try too hard. Don't sort of try too hard, and that's the key to it. And I think that's right. At the beginning, we weren't trying too hard. We were turning down things left, right, and centre because we just thought they were uncool, and we were like, "Nah, we're not doing that. We're not that desperate." You know what I mean?
That's right. So the cool, right? This is a good jumping off point. So this concept of cool, round about the kind of pre-punk and just after, was personally my guiding principle. I mean, I suppose the complete leader of our movement was Bowie in that respect. So I always use that as a kind of mental benchmark for whether somebody else will find it cool. It worked against us with the early Human League in the first instance because we were cool. There's no doubt about that. But no fucker wanted to buy what we did, or not many anyway. But it's lasted the test of time. So that's.
I did. I bought all the Human League stuff.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you see? You didn't have to see us at the Limit. Not the Limit. We're talking about the Eric's.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
But there's just 3 a year, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've lost that love and feeling.
That's right. Yeah,
right.
In fact, we did it at a gig last weekend as well, me and Glenn.
Yeah.
Just as a tribute. Yeah.
And was the other member just on slides and stuff like that?
Yeah, that was.
I can remember seeing 2 of you on stage, but I knew there was 3 involved.
There was three. Me, Ian Marsh, and Phil singing, obviously, and then there was. I can't remember at that time. I think Adrian was part of the band who did the slides. He was to the side of the stage, so it might have looked like a monitor guy or something.
Yeah. I remember this one somewhere at the back or somewhere.
He was like live, kind of slide VJing. It's really weird.
Liquid Len and the Lensman.
That's right. Oh wow, Hawkwind, yeah. Anyway, so tell me about.
I loved it. It's in my book, I think, and I loved it.
Yeah. So when you've got a definite predilection, according to everything I've read, for you love Eno and the kind of ambient stuff and what have you, but you are known as a supreme guitarist. So how come really the Bunnymen never really they didn't have very much in the way of electronics involved, did they really? Was it something was that a conscious decision, I suppose?
Yeah, it was kind of like we were I was very much influenced by television, and they didn't have any synths involved.
That's true.
Right. I saw it all. Like, I loved the synthesizer world and the electronic world anyway. And I saw that as my own little personal kind of on the side kind of deal,
right. What did you have? What synth?
Very little. We had I had a Clavio line. Do you remember what that one of them is? It's like a weird, the song Telstar.
Oh, yeah.
I had one of them. I had a Casio, I think it's called a CT40 or something.
Right.
Or some like a little pretend keyboard thing, tiny thing. And I had the use of the Teardrop Explodes. They had a string synth, a Roland string synth.
Oh, they were good actually. I used those as well.
Yeah, wasn't quite a mellotron, and it was
good.
Good, but it was a bit sweet. Then, like a mellotron's got that kind of like gritty edge, hasn't it?
I love mellotron.
Sounds great.
I nearly bought a mellotron, one of Moody Blue's spare mellotrons, believe it or not. And then I realised they weighed literally about a ton. And I thought, I can't be arsed with all that shit.
They are amazing, like amazing bit of equipment.
Yeah.
What you're dragging it around and trying to, and something happens to it,
Did you ever see King Crimson performing?
No, I've never seen them. I've only seen them on the telly,
Oh, fucking hell. They blew my mind.
Yeah. I know they did that. Didn't they do that gig with the Stones in the park? Just after when you released all them butterflies and off them were just dead. They flopped. Blind blown, got killed.
I don't know why I'm laughing about that. It's not very nice, but...
there's all these butterflies did that like little poem, didn't he, Jagger, and that white little frock thing he had on.
I don't think I've ever seen that. It must be on YouTube.
It's like it's not long after Brian had died, and the festival in Hyde Park in London. My brother was there. Gilbert and George was wandering around dressed as like kind of the gold, living sculptures.
Oh, brilliant!
So, it's like when London had that real cool underground vibe. The Pink Fairies and all them sorts of bands were kicking off.
That's right.
And all that loud.
I'm looking at your list of artistic things on your website that you've been doing. I mean, it's kind of as a parallel career line with the Bunnymen, and it's quite an impressive list of shit. No, I don't mean shit.
I know you, Leo, in that way.
But I mean, you've authentically been involved in the art world for a very long time, and this is. Do you feel it's like a vocation for you that you feel compelled to express yourself in different artistic ways?
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, and I do it all as the same thing. It all comes from the same bit of your mind, and it's, if I'm doing a painting or making a record, I'm doing it in the same way.
And do you think they cross-fertilize and inform each other?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, hear colours and see sound.
Yes, right. So synesthesia was the next question I was going to ask you about. A lot of artists who are, shall we say, multidisciplinary, seem to have a very significant cross-wiring of the brains between the visual and the auditory. It's something that fascinates me because I work in three-dimensional sound all the time, so I get to work with a lot of visual artists. Do you think that's the case? How do you view that?
Well, can you repeat the question? Imagine it 3D sound.
Sorry, you got distracted. No, I'm just asking really if, say, for instance, you're ever inspired by a visual thing to create sound. Or maybe sound inspires a painting, or is there a cross-fertilization between the senses, really?
Yeah, I think so. It's all the same thing, isn't it? It's all, like when I'm painting, I'll have music on, and but we'll send your brain somewhere. If it's a dark song or whatever, you'll start painting dark things or using dark color. I don't know. It's subliminal, isn't it?
But what I'm trying to get over to the podcast listeners is, it seems obvious for you and me, and for a lot of other people that I talk to, but what I've realised over the years is it's not a common trait. It's actually unusual, and I think it's a large part of what makes us creative artists. It's something that's completely, we're not in control of. It is completely under the radar. And it's only when I've got to like the 60s, my 60 odd years, that I realised that's the case. I just wonder what you thought about that.
Yeah, I think that's completely right. It's something that you can't help. It's in there, and it's just sort of, and I agree with you that not everybody gets it. And you say, well, it's easy playing guitar. You just do, just, what's your problem? Like, but I can just pick up, I could just pick up a guitar and make something up, but I couldn't, it'd take me ages to work out a song by somebody else. I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't even attempt it because I'm not interested in playing other people's songs, so.
Have you ever produced other people or arranged?
No, but I remember what we were like, always arguing and snotty and everything, and to go in with some snotty band who think they know everything.
That's why I did some bands in the early days before I started producing properly for other people, and I said, "That's it. I'm not doing bands anymore." Yeah. There's always cliques. There's always arguments.
Yeah. There's always
it's like being a referee in a football game. You're on a losing wicket all the time to mix and yeah.
And it was a lot of that, a lot of sort of opposite ideas kicking off all the time, and
that's good.
Yeah, it is good, but if they're against my way.
Right, but I mean, you always had the option of forming your own band and doing it your way, and you being the leader. I suppose it's a bit like me and Phil. We were two strong, opinionated people in a young band, and eventually, I suppose, we had different views on things. He wanted to be a straightforward pop star, and I wasn't willing to give up the kind of artistic part of it.
It's exactly the same sort of.
So
you just sort of get on with it. And
tell us about your relationship with Ian then. How it was back then and how it is now.
That's a hard one. I'd rather not, really.
Really? Wow, okay.
He's
all right, fair enough. No, I don't want to anything. I just, it's obvious that you created some amazing work.
Yeah.
Which, incredibly enough, kind of crossed over to a massive kind of mainstream audience. Because, I was listening to some John Peel sessions of yours, early ones with the drum machine and all that stuff. And I thought, this is really good. And, if I'd have been around then in a record company, I'd have gone, yeah, definitely sign them fuckers. They sound great.
But maybe you really try and change you.
That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah. So they see a spark that's great, and that spark is what's making you great. And then they try and the damnedest to extinguish that spark and make you like everybody else. And we were always arguing and fighting with the labels and all that. Well, I'm not talking about just getting a drummer. We wanted a drummer at the time because it was kind of like the drum machine was so primitive, Kind
of liked it. It reminded me a bit of like a guitar-based Suicide.
Yeah, well, they were one of my favourite bands.
Yeah.
And, also Metal Airbane from Paris. Do you know them?
Oh, yeah.
I like them. And they had a drum machine, but their drum machine was on 180 BPM or something. Or 120. It was like...
Yeah. But, this is an interesting vein to explore then. So, did you feel that when you were becoming popular, did you feel that the record company were your allies, or were they somebody that you continuously had to fight to maintain your integrity with?
Me personally, I was fighting.
Right. Are you a fighter?
Not really a fighter, but I was fighting them because they were getting on my nerves. They were trying to push us in ways that I didn't want to be pushed.
Like a pop group.
They brought us into the office one day and played us, So by Peter Gabriel, that album with all the sample all over it. And he said, we want you to sound more like this. I'm like, no. That's like, it's like, because that was a hit, if you like, you know what I mean? Big Time and all that stuff. It was a massive hit. I'm thinking, just don't get it. And like, you know, when we did Electrofiction, he came.
I love that, by the way.
Yeah, he came down and, you know, the label bloke came down and he was like moaning about it, or it wasn't this or it wasn't that. And he couldn't understand that that's how we wanted it to sound. Like, you know, it's like, no, but that's how we want it to sound.
Yeah.
And yeah, it pissed me off because he said, well, I'm a millionaire, so I must be right.
Are you sure you signed with the right label? Which label was that?
That was All Warmers, I think.
Oh, my God. Yeah, this is the problem. I mean, I must admit, my comparative experience with record labels, we were very lucky because Virgin were good to us. You know, they trusted us to a certain extent. And but right from the outset, and we had it written into the Constitution, they weren't allowed into the studio during the creative process. They could pass comment once it was done, and we might take some notes. But I think it's the thin end of the wedge. If you don't establish that relationship early doors, you've got a problem.
It's loads of that. You know, like the label had come down, and then they'd go off with Drummond, Bill Drummond, and like there'd be like whispers in the corridor or whatever.
Oh, no.
It was like they weren't into it or whatever. And Bill would like have to sort of translate it in a way that we wouldn't kick off. you know. So there was a lot of that went on.
I mean, that album's good. I really like it.
That's great.
Yeah. Are you proud of that? Yeah.
Yeah. I love that one. Yeah, there's some I'm not so proud of, but that one.
Right. Okay. Which of your big hits with the Bunnymen are you most happy with? Oh, don't have to be big hits, actually. Which summed up what you wanted to achieve best?
I don't know, because I never thought about it like that. I never really thought, you know,
when challenge you,
it was being like considered a real band that had like the same way that the I don't know, Love or the Doors are kind of respected now. I didn't mind not being in the charts or any of that.
Yeah.
About that. And that would cause problems. You know, but you know, I just wanted to be seen as like a real band, like the Faces, or you know, kind of like a proper classic, like it, you know, could be deemed a classic band.
I think you achieved that.
Yeah,
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
And certainly, whenever, I mean, you know, later on when you were touring and stuff, people love what you do, and it's very popular in a lot of different territories, by all accounts. And you know, here's another question. It relates to how I think about the stuff I've written and stuff. When you were writing it, did you write it with an ambition for it to, for the recordings to be, did you think that people would be listening to it in 10 and 20, 30, 40 years' time and still loving it?
Yeah, we were trying to make something timeless. That was what we were always going on about. Wanted it to be timeless.
We said the same thing to ourselves, yeah.
And so that's what, you know. But it wouldn't say it was an like ambition. Never really had much ambition, really. Like you know, when I was listening to Richard and he was saying that, you know, about the trying too hard and all that.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that with me. You know, it was day to day, and it wasn't like a master plan. There was no.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway, it might have been for me.
Very few people do, I think, who are artists. I mean,
I didn't think it wouldn't last, but I didn't think it would last either. You know, I wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to pack in any minute. It could have done. You know, it was quite fragile.
Yeah.
The whole situation was pretty fragile.
So, round about that period that we were talking about, sort of, I suppose, late 70s to early 80s, I just did an interview with Pete Wiley. I couldn't get a word in edgeways, of course, but you know Pete, presumably.
Yeah.
And the thing that impressed me about the whole Liverpool thing was how it was so fluid. A lot of bands kind of merged, and they had different lineups for different things, and there's it's like a never-ending kind of supergroup that's kind of that's like an amoeba that changes and stuff, and yet the same's true for you. I mean, you had different incarnations with different luminaries, didn't you, and stuff?
We had like somebody playing keyboards for us, and it was just whoever was around really. Paul Simpson, Paul Swans did it, and mate of ours called Andy Eastwood did it. I met like called Jamie, he did it as well, and he was going to play the guitar, but that didn't work out. So yeah, it was, but they would just all come in, and it was basically me, Les, and Mac.
Right.
That was the core.
Yeah. And did you get on well with the other bands?
Some of them, like there was a lot of that. If you got anywhere or you got mentioned to the enemy and the sounds, and there was like jealousy going around. There was a lot of that, and we were as bad as everybody else.
Yeah. It was the same. It was the same in Sheffield, to be honest. Yeah. There's a word in Ireland, begrudgery. I like that one.
Yeah, you mentioned that one, didn't you, Sir Richard? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it was like. A lot of that. Yeah. Look, wanting you to fail a lot of the time.
Yeah. I suppose so.
It's weird, isn't it? This thing. It's like in America, it's not like, yeah, go for it, guys.
Yeah. It's like, right.
Break your neck.
Right. But it's only because it throws a light on, I suppose, people's bitterness and inadequacy. Yeah.
It's just and all that stuff,
So, at the peak of your success, what did it go to your heads?
I think in a fashion sense. Once you're in a band and you're like away from home, you can wear what the hell you like.
Anything.
So, I'd be going around all these like shops in America and buying little straw boater hats and dicky bows and all kinds of shite, And you just buy all this random stuff. And it was okay to wear over there because you were like, oh, this sort of like exotic creature from another world, But he's come back to Liverpool, everyone was laughing at you. Like I remember when we were in Japan, I bought this suit and it didn't have any buttons up the front. It had like a round collar, and it was just weird. It was dead like there was nothing to there was no like pockets or anything. It was just like this.
And I had a narrow suit.
And it had trousers that went to like sort of like almost like +4s.
Oh right.
And bit Tintin. Like in my head I was Tintin. Well, I lost a lot.
I've applied to what you've had.
I'm like, Peter Hooton was like laughing at me, like, from the farm. Walking hell, what's that?
Yeah. Was that back in Liverpool? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter's a lovely guy, isn't he? He's sweet. Interesting. Yeah. I was just thinking because we deliberately, with the Hume League, deliberately avoided doing the whole world tour thing and rock arenas and all that stuff, but that must have been an ambition of yours to do that. Is that right? No,
I like doing places. I like doing small places. I like it where you can see the whites of their eyes.
Yeah.
And I don't like these mega things where there's a great big gap between you and the crowd and all that shite. Remember me and Mac went to see Bowie at Wembley Arena and it was rubbish. And we were getting pressure all the time to play Wembley Arena.
Right.
We did it in the end, and it was rubbish. We couldn't rise to the occasion. It took, in America, we did so many of them sort of bigger places, call them the Sheds.
Yeah.
And about 10,000 people or something. And you kind of get into the groove of it, but they're all just there in front of you. There's not seats or anything, and it's like kind of, there might be a bit of seated at the front, but then there's a gap where people can stand, and it's a bit more kind of, I don't know, it's not as like formal.
Yeah.
So it's, you can kind of deal with that, you know. But doing big places, I don't know. I always like doing Barrowlands and places like that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's great. Well, Scotland in general. So I suppose it's a massively important thing for you to feed off the energy of the audience and the enthusiasm. Because, like, you know, say for instance you do the NEC. I've done it a couple of times, and it's like I characterise the audience as being like a big, dumb, sweet animal. You know, there's no kind of, it flattens out all the dynamics of the response because it's just a bit too big for me. But you're right. I think the American audiences are different. They have a different attitude towards it.
Yeah, I like bands like U2 could do that, and they could like get every single person in that, you know, mega dome place jumping up and down or whatever, even to the back, you know. And, you know, that's like something that they could do and we couldn't do or didn't want to do, you know, for some reason.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I was looking for your album, the Grind album.
Oh yeah.
The ambient album that you did, but it's not on Spotify. Is that deliberate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate Spotify. even though this is on Spotify.
I know. But
no, I don't. I think all them things are killing music. It's just shit, and it's not like because of the financial thing. It just sort of, it's blanding everything out. It's like there's no, like when I used to buy records, it was the hunt.
Yes.
Not just the kill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you finally got that Metal Machine music in your hand.
Yes. Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah. You know, and the cover and everything. It's all about that for me. And I think they've lost, you know, try selling a bloody MP3 on Discogs. You know what I mean? It's just like, what? It's nonsense.
Yeah.
It's selling some sort of weird, I don't know what it is. I can't get my head around it.
Well, it's a decontextualization of music. So basically, it strips away the artwork, which is an important part of understanding what the artistic intention is, but it also strips away any patina of age whatsoever. Yeah. You can own the MP3 forever, and it'll sound the same then as it did then. I was thinking about.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I love it when I buy a second-hand record.
Yes.
Somebody's writing in it, you know, Claire Smith or something, you know, to belong to, and they've obviously took it to a party. Yes. That's that one, you know what I mean? And I love that, you know. I love like getting records where somebody's either coloured it in or, you know, done something like that. You know, I had that one, Relics, you know, by Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah. That was always that was like one of them things you do for stress, isn't it? You feel like
pull them in with biros, you know.
That's very
funny. Yeah, you know, so I don't mind the covers being a bit trashed, everything being a bit dog-eared, and
I preferred it.
You know,
I was gonna invent and I was serious about it as well. I was gonna create a plugin, not a plugin. Hold on, let me get this right. It was an iPhone app that you could store your music in it, and it would actually add aging to it as you go along, visually, and add crackles and stuff, depending on how long you'd owned it.
Yeah.
Just to get back to that magic.
Yeah. That's a good idea, that.
No, it's not bad, is it?
The more you play it,
yeah,
the more might it cracklier or dust.
Or damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one of them vacuum cleaners, you know, for the records.
How do you?
Put the liquid on it and it sucks all the shite out. Yeah.
Oh God, I used to love them gadgets, all like, you know, proper vinyl cleaners and stuff.
Yeah.
So, in terms of your, I mean, are you going to do any more ambient music?
Yeah, I've been toying with this idea of doing some desktop gigs. Yeah, we have all your bits and bobs on a desk, and
yes,
Yeah, I've done them in the past as glide. I had a tape machine and stuff like that, and I'd feed things in. And I used to put the guitar flat, and I had this metal rod and a screwdriver, and I'd like hit it with the rod, like this. I would have it to an open chord, and then I'd slide the screwdriver up and down. Nice. And it was pretty effective. Like, it was like the heaviest guitar sound ever, You're twatting it with a metal rod. But it's like a thin one. It's like more like, I don't know, something like a coat hanger or something like that,
I experiment with different things.
I twisted it all around, and I put like little dangly bits on the ends for a visual content, to make it interesting.
I suppose you could use like a
projector that are made and everything.
Oh, yeah. You could use like an ebow and stuff and do stuff.
Yeah. And I used to roll up marbles up and down the strings. That's quite good.
Yeah.
Like big ones, body washers.
Yeah. Have you ever been to any Christian Marclay exhibitions?
No.
Oh my God! Right, so they had a huge one in the Tate. About 15 years ago? It was amazing, and he makes like huge devices associated with recording and musical instruments and stuff. He invented the term turntablism and stuff. Oh. But one of the videos that was in the exhibition, he did this thing where he got a Strat. And he attached an amp, I think it was like a Vox AC30 or something, to the top of a car. And he attached a Strat on a rope to the back of the car. And, of course, plugged the guitar into the amp. And just drove off and had a car following, filming it all. And it was going, ding, clang, ding, 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 ding. It was the best thing ever. He was like an automatically generated Metal Machine music,
Wow. I've been to some, sound art things, There was one mob where they had a record player and they put fireworks on the record. Like, was it like spinning?
Oh, yeah.
And then it was in the Lipper in Liverpool.
Really?
And fire brigade turned up. Get all the alarms off, and that was the end of that. But they'd also, at one point, they were playing circular saws, putting the needlers on.
Yeah. Similar kind of thing, yeah. Trying to think what else from that Christian Marclay exhibition. They had this thing where they had a tape recorder, and it fixed it so as you did loads of loops, kind of iterative loops of feedback of an original signal. And then, after a few loops, it would just pour off into a giant pile of tape. Just so beautiful, because it was like they'd set it going every day, and it would be a different pile every day, and all that sort of stuff. I love all that stuff. So, did you like Iggy and the Stooges?
Yeah.
I really, really like their earliest stuff. I love Kill City. I thought it was a great album. And I love The Idiot and all that stuff later on.
That early stuff,
Yeah. Who's your favourite guitarist?
Well, I like a lot. I like the two lads out of Television, Tom Verlaine and Richard Lloyd. They're amazing. The interplay between the two of them.
Yeah.
Sid Barrett.
Yeah.
Phil Manzanera, Roxy. It's probably too many. Even like Jimmy Page. I love Jimmy Page. Hendrix.
Robert Fripp.
Fripp, yeah.
I think he's my favourite of all, to be honest. Just because I can see some of that kind of textural stuff that you do. You're very good with tone colours. And to be honest, were it a different guitarist in the Bunnymen, it'd be an entirely different band. I mean, you are the kind of tonal tonmeister of the band, And but I think the mastery that you have of different textures and stuff is fucking good. I'm very impressive.
Yeah.
It's because you have an artistic heart, I think.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me that you're constantly looking for different ways to create new textures and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I like messing around with the guitar that's not in the normal way, sort of, even though like live and, like on the track Zimbo, when we recorded that, I played the guitar with a pair of scissors.
Tremendous.
Yeah, that was good.
I don't know what to say to that. I've got nothing to say.
Well, it was like using it like a bow, but it had like a nice rough edge down the blade. So it's like, I do a lot of stuff like scratching the strings and, all that sort of swag.
Have you ever done any of that stuff on stage, live?
Yeah, I do it live, but I'll use, I used to have this piece of an old lamp. It was like a copper metal, and that had a good texture that I could scratch up and down, But you can only do the first 4 strings because I'm playing it live. I wasn't tuning it to an open tuning, so it was like I had to just do it then. I had to be more accurate, really, otherwise it would sound a bit off. Or if I've lost that, I just use the plectrum and I'll rough up the edge of the plectrum with a bit of sandpaper or something.
This is great stuff. This podcast gold. There'll be people trying this shit all over the world.
Yeah, I bend the neck and all that, like.
Yeah, I bet your guitar tech loves you.
Well, years ago when we had this one called Curly, I christened him Curly because he looked like Curly Watts from Corrie,
Yeah.
And I used to purposely ream 3 strings off at a time just to keep him running around like a soft shite for a laugh. Thick spectrums, the really thick ones, black ones.
Yeah.
So clang. I'm like in them days, because I wasn't proficient, my idea of sort of getting away with it was just hit the bloody thing harder. And it makes it look like you're meant to do that, or whatever, so it's it dead hard,
Right.
That was a bit violent, in them days early on. I used to break loads of strings, but I don't seem to break them anymore. I don't know why.
You're mellowing out, mate.
All the strings have got better. I don't know, or maybe we buy more expensive strings because we used to buy old crap that was going,
So what's your go-to guitar for live work, or do you have many?
I like my Jaguar, and I've got a Jazzmaster. The best guitar I've got is a Gretsch Country Gent.
Oh, right.
Sounds great. I've got loads of guitars now. I've got bloody shitloads.
You're a proper rock star, mate. That's what it is.
Like the inside of a Yes album. Right.
Steve Howe.
What it's missing is the hairy fairy girls and the flowery stuff with the flared sleeve wanted around and black-handed flowers in there.
So do you have one of those big rock kind of guitar racks at the back of the stage, and you change?
Yeah. I've been using 8 guitars. Years ago, not that many years ago, a couple of years ago, I used to use one guitar, my Jaguar.
Right,
That's all I do.
Right.
Then I started thinking I'll start playing some of my other guitars, and that grew to now I use 8 guitars, and I'm changing a guitar every song and all that.
Right. What amplification do you use?
I've got Black Star and also Fender stuff.
Right.
Combination.
Right. And do you blast everybody else off stage with your? Do you turn everything up to 11 and blast everybody else off stage?
I try to, but it's not easy. Like, we tried them earplug things, the little.
No, I can't deal with all that.
Can't be arsed.
No.
Even Mac tried them, and he didn't like them that much. He cut one off. He just asked why he cut it off with a pair of scissors.
No, I can't be doing with all that shit. No. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of this, and
well, I want to ask you a question.
Oh, please do. Go for it.
Okay, Sheffield, right?
Yeah.
Why were there so many electronic kind of bands, or bands that sort of had a nod to the electronic world.
Right.
Like, the late 70s, early 80s.
The progenitors of that were probably Cabaret Voltaire, to be honest. Yeah. But then it just kind of coincided with affordable synths coming out in the mid-70s. Right. And there was a kind of general level of, we're in the gutter here. We got to look to the future. And so it's quite, being a futurist in the broadest sense of the word was the ambition. And it was like, well, we've got nothing to lose. So it was like, we can't afford all that fancy guitar stuff. And I tried guitar, it hurt my fingers, so I didn't do that. And then of course, like the entry level synths, like I'll show you. In fact, like that one was my first synth, the Korg 700S, which we did Being Boiled on, and then we did Being Boiled on that as well, the System 100, and all that. Anyway, but we got them all on HP because our families had no money. There you go. He's holding up the. I designed that cover. I'm proud to say.
Great, the news.
Very happy with it. Yeah, it's become a. They use this as
yours. There you go.
There you go. That's why I use that title. Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly. Microgramma bold extended font. I'm obsessed with fonts. Yeah. Again,
called what's it? Fund Crap or something? Fund Drap or something. It's like kind of that blocky, chunky looking.
Yeah. Anyway, so the synths in Sheffield, it's just everybody wants to sound futuristic, and it was just the easiest way of doing it.
Why do you think they wanted to sound futuristic? Do you think it was because of the industry there?
Yeah, I think part of it was the kind of
like this industrial backdrop.
Yeah. In central Sheffield, there were loads of finishing shops for cutlery and stuff. Little Mester's shops, they used to call them. And so you'd walk around town and you'd hear all these grinding noises all the time and stuff, and hammering. And you'd not think anything about it when you were young. You just thought every city must sound like this.
Yeah.
And it's only later you realise that must have an influence on our love of found sound, and design sound.
Yeah.
I
think it's more seafaring in Liverpool. Probably.
I suppose so, yeah.
Everybody knew people that went away to sea,
That's right. I did an enormous sound installation in Liverpool in 2005. I can't remember. Anyway, it was called The Crossing, and it was to celebrate the three queens coming in, the big liners, and they said we want to draw people into Liverpool One, the shopping centre. So we did this 300-metre long sound installation in 3D, doing a trip to America and back in half an hour on a Cunard liner, with all the appropriate music from the times all sped up. Not the music, the timeline was sped up, obviously.
Oh,
and, that was really successful, actually. Yeah, I've done a few things in Liverpool. Enough about me. Right, now I'm going to ask you some daft smash hits type questions, like I do to everybody. What's your favourite film?
Christ.
Well, one of them.
One of them. Oh God. Jude.
Sorry.
Dune,
man. There's a new version coming out, isn't there?
Yeah. I like that, and I like a lot of sci-fi stuff.
I thought there were some really good things in Dune, the first one, and it got slated massively.
Oh yeah.
I find myself going back to watch it again and again. Actually,
we watched it loads of times, so we all knew the stuff off by heart.
Oh, you could do like the Sound of Music thing with the sing along.
Yeah.
What's your favourite book?
Oh God.
Or one of them?
Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was one that I read on the bus to work,
right,
in 73 or 4 or whatever.
Right.
I used to look forward to getting the bus so I could read it. So it was obviously a good book, you know what I mean?
Well written. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a massive reader. Like
Right.
I like a lot of John le Carre stuff.
Right.
I like spies when they're like gritty and real. I don't like James Bond.
No.
You know, I like Ipcress File, stuff like that.
Ipcress File. I saw that the other day. Brilliant. What a fantastic
Yeah, and I like
film.
because it's just grubby blokes in Max, isn't it? Like slimy things.
Get
That's
Carter.
what it is. That's kind of what it is. It's not jumping around with a fancy gun and a gold bar. You know, it's like you're a spy. You've got to like be incognito and blend into the background. Okay, I'll wear this dinner suit and a dicky belt or it's like
Drive a fancy car. Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Tried parking that in Liverpool.
I love Alice in is it Alice that's in? She's in one of them. She's like the one that sort of it's like you know the control bit is in some secret sort of behind a laundrette or something like that. And she's there with a fag, you know, she's like in the whole thing, you know, Alice. Well, upstairs, just not fair. You know, and it's like, you know, the security of the nation is in Alice's hands.
Yeah, I love that. I used to love Man from Uncle. I must say.
Yeah, that was a bit sort of Bondy, but it was when you were that age, it was a great. I've got the soundtrack here.
Have you?
Yeah, yeah, do you want to see it?
Yeah. Don't.
I've got it in. Sure, I've got it in. I'll do with that.
To fill in for the podcast listeners, well, he's searching through his gigantic record plate.
There's what? There's a good film.
Oh, Bedazzled! What a film! Yeah. Do you collect soundtracks?
Yeah, I collect every now and then. I need treatment. I don't know how I'd say. Of course. 3 ages.
I think you need a Dewey Decimal System.
Well, I've got one system, but
It's coming. It's coming. I shall describe Will's room. There's a globe. There's a moon. There's a hat. There's... Oh, he found it. I'm so impressed. Hugo Montenegro. I never knew that.
yeah, and Yulia Koryarkin and Napoleon Solo.
People used to say I used to look like...
In a film,
Sorry?
a film called Violent Playground.
Right.
It's in Liverpool. You know him.
Yeah. What do they call it? Yeah.
He's the sort of, you know, the gang leader, and it's in there. There was like these sorts of houses, kind of like a bull ring they called.
Right.
There's one in Liverpool called Gerard Gardens or Gerard Gardens, and it's set in there, you know, and he's like the gang leader, you know, but he's only like 16 or 15 in it or something.
Wow.
At a playground.
I've never heard of that before.
Like, never told me like copper, you know, and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. Your favourite other musical artist or composer?
Well, it's got to be Bowie, hasn't it?
Yeah. I think most people of our age would regard that to be an obvious.
All about Scott Walker. I love Scott Walker as well.
There's a lot of Scott Walker influence on your stuff, I think.
Yeah, I love Scott Walker, and you know, but like, and it's Bowie that got me into so many other things, you know.
I mean, I didn't realise Richard Hawley was such a big friend of Scott Walker's.
I think he's told me that in the past because I'm sort of mates with Richard, and when he we'll go to the pub and that, you know,
He's a
and
nice lad.
a suitable scuzzy backstreet pub, and there's plenty of them to choose from.
There are. An epiphanal moment in your life that changed, you know, like a fork in the road and you took one direction, not the other, or even a handbrake turn, or some moment of light bulb realization.
There's been loads of them. I suppose the biggest one was going up to Mac at this party we were at. I'd never spoke to him, and sort of saying, do you want to come round to our house and mess around with guitars and see what happens? And that changed the whole course of my life, that really.
Amazing. Amazing. Good. Favorite visual or conceptual artist?
Oh God, like them as well. I really like Peter Blake. I know he's like, you know, like I love that stuff he did about Kendo Nagasaki. Have you ever seen that?
It rings a bell. Maybe I've seen it because they've had some retrospectives on it, the Tate Britain and stuff. So maybe I've seen it.
Only known for, he gets known for the Beatles, Sergeant Pepper's.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff is, really great. And he was like one of them. He was in London at that time and the Royal College of Art or wherever they were from, or St. Martin's, one of them fancy art schools. With all the others. And there's a great, I think there's a great documentary called Pop Goes the Easel. You ever seen that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Done that. And I love all that stuff, all the British artists from that period. Like, I love the American stuff, Rothko and all the rest of it.
It's like collage stuff. It's so cool, isn't it?
I love all that. I mean, it's like, kind of like, he'll just have a door and he'll have like some pictures of like, I don't know, Gina Lollobrigida or something stuck on them,
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Good. Which of your own work are you most proud of? Or you think kind of hit the nail on the head?
I'd say the first 4 albums.
I like your style.
Because there's not a lot on there that I don't like. And some of the, at the time there was odd tracks that I wasn't 100% on, but you leave it for years and years and don't play them, and all them things that were going on in the studio that annoyed you are forgotten about. And you can't even remember the reason why you didn't like that track was because the cymbal sound was a bit too fizzy or something stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, like I did them, the Tim Burgess listening parties.
Yeah, I'm about to do one for Luxury Gap next week.
And I did the first 4 albums. And so I listened to them for the first time for like 20, 30 years. And I was really pleased. And I thought, God, these, they are great. Like, you know what I mean?
They live forever, mate. That's what I've realised. It's like, that's your legacy,
even ones after that, Siberia, Evergreen, the Electrofiction album, Flowers. I like a lot of them, but the first 4 are, for me, they're not as radical as I would have liked them to be, but there's a balance. Like weird, if you like, you know what I mean? They're always going on at me. I wanted everything to be too weird.
Yeah.
I like the Residents and people like that.
Oh my God. We used to have the same manager in America, and I've still got their early albums, all still in their wrappers. Wow. Never opened them. I thought this is an art concept. I don't want to open them. I want to keep them intact. All that. And oh my God, I love the Residents. Yeah.
I've had a studio in San Francisco in the 80s.
Wow.
And when they weren't looking, I put one of the eyeball heads on. T-shirts and an eyeball head on.
Brilliant. Absolutely. I did the same with the Sheffield Wednesday mascot. I put the Aussie owl head on and did. God, it stank. Anyway, okay, and finally, I know you're more known as a guitarist, but what's your favourite synth?
I've got one of them SH-101s.
Yeah, let's bring back some.
I swapped it for like a Farfisa compact duo. I wish I had the Farfisa compact duo.
Yeah, Farfisa is good.
But I think that really, because you can get some good sounds out of that, some good noises.
Yeah. Have you ever messed about putting synths through pedals and amps and stuff?
I do. And a lot of the time I try and make the guitar sound less like a guitar as possible.
Yeah.
So that's using effects and techniques, you know, like scratching,
Brilliant.
rolling things up and down, or, you know, flicking things, whatever, you know, things on it.
Dropping ball bearings on it, all sorts of shit. Yeah. Just finally, you're planning to do further iterations of your autobiography, is that right?
Yeah. I've got to do part 2. That'll be when Pete de Freitas he came up to Liverpool. There was a gig, Teardrop Explodes, on us in Liverpool. It was Christmas, and he came up just to see us, and then we kind of practiced the next day with him. We never called it rehearse in them days. We used to call it practice.
Yeah.
What time we practice? There's always rehearse didn't seem to be a bit too professional.
Yeah.
So he came up, and we met him and everything, and I had the chat with him. And a lovely bloke. And the next day, I think it was, he came down to this rehearsal place that was in our mate's basement, his mum's basement. And we just ran through some songs, and he drummed along, you know. And we didn't have anything to compare him to. We didn't know he was a genius. Yeah, it was just like, wow, that sounds great, you know, powerful, you know. The drum machine was just... I don't know why about Mini Pops Juniors. They're pretty...
Yeah, it's true. Fantastic. Well, that's it. Well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been instructional for me.
Yeah.
You've got to do an audio version of your book.
I have done it.
Have you? Yeah. I'm gonna listen to that. I prefer audio books to...
Yeah, I do, because, you know, you can put it in the car and that.
And it's the tone of voice as well. It's so important with autobiography, I think.
I've got this one at the minute. I've just finished Ian Rankin's last one, called Song for Dark Times. And I'm going on to this one, Shantaram, which a mate of mine is doing the music for Apple. Are making a film of this, you know, it's a series. It's a dead long book. Like the audio book is 42 hours long.
Holy shit.
So
that's an investment.
Yeah. Still only 1 credit on Audible.
I know, it's good, isn't it? I just buy a whole bunch of credits, and then I go for quantity, not quality.
Like to listen to in the car, so you know, listen to the news.
Yeah, you don't want to listen to the news. No. All right, man. That's it. I will, as fellow label mates, I look forward to meeting you in the future. It'd be great to have a pint at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm coming up to Sheffield. Oh, you're not in Sheffield, are you? You're in London.
No, I'm in London. I'm in that London. Yeah. Well, never know. We might all get together with Richard and have a pint together at some point. Brilliant.
Nice one.
All right, mate. See you later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.